3 cops knocked on my door with a child abuse report. The kid's name was Lily Bennett. My last name, my address, I'd never heard of her. But someone had been using my name for years, and the truth was about to destroy everything I'd built. I was running the final test on my latest lines of code when it happened. The cursor blinked at the end of line 47. One ear cup of my headphones was pushed back so I could hear the test results chime through the speakers. The function was clean. I was maybe 20 minutes from pushing to staging and calling it a night. Then the knock came. 3 sharp raps, evenly spaced, the kind that don't ask permission. I frowned, pulling the headphones down around my neck. I wasn't expecting anyone. David was at the hospital until 8. The Amazon package had arrived Tuesday. I crossed the living room, bare feet on cool bamboo, and peered through the side lamp. 3 uniforms, 2 women, 1 man, shoulder to shoulder on my step. The woman in front had her hand resting on her belt, not on her weapon, but close enough that I noted. I unlocked the deadbolt and pulled the door open a few inches. August heat rolled in, thick with cut grass from the neighbors. "Can I help?" The lead officer, Marquez, her nameplate read, held up a badge I didn't need to. "Clara." "Yeah." "We received a report of child abuse at this." The words landed like a dropped glass. Child abuse. A report was filed naming this residence. We're required to do a welfare. I don't have. Marquez's expression didn't shift. "Stone, all of them. Man." I stood in the doorway, my brain still running the last function, still trying to compile what was. I was a person who planned. Color-coded calendar. Meal prep Sundays. Police on my porch at 7:30 was not a variable I had for. "Sure," I said. They fired me. Marquez first, then the officer, then the woman, who was already scanning the living room with the practiced eye of someone who looked for. My townhouse was not wrong. It was a West Elm catalog with a standing corner. "There's a child named Lily Bennett enrolled at Maple Elementary," Marquez said, turning in a low circle. "The address on file is 412 Street. Address." My stomach did the old drop. The moment you realize the bug's in your code, the test. Bennett last name. The male officer had wandered. The second woman took the hallway. Peered. I wanted them to stop. That my home had rights, but the words felt thick. I had never knew them. "Ms. Bennett," Marquez said. "Any children living here, visiting, or in your care?" "No, I live with my fiancé. No kids. We don't even have a dog." A beat. Marquez's eyes moved to the standing desk, dual monitors. "You work from home?" "Software engineer. Anyone else have access to this address? Family who might used it for mail, school enrollment?" Mouth went dry. I had a brother. I spoken to him and I did that without wanting to. Years. He was the kind of person who might use it asking. But I hadn't seen our mother's funeral, and I had made a deliberate daily practice of him. "I have a brother," I said. "We're not in contact." "Name?" Jason Bennett." Marquez made a note. The male from the kitchen. "Held here." The second woman emerged from and shook her head. Notepad. "We'll be in touch. CPS will likely follow up. If you hear from Jason Bennett, or if a child shows up here, immediately." I walked them to the door. My hands were shaking, so I put them in my pockets. Paused on the step. "What it's worth," he said. "I believe you. But the address doesn't lie. Someone put your name on a form." The door clicked shut. I stood in the entryway, listening to tires crunch on gravel as the squad car pulled away. The house was too quiet. My test results were still chuffly from the office. A little electronic bell meant everything was fine, that the code was clean. I didn't move and its key in the lock. He came in carrying tape from the tie place on Manor, white coat still on, stethoscope around his neck. "Hey, they were out of bail." "What's wrong?" "Police were here," I said. "Someone reported child abuse at this address." David set the down. "Who?" "They wouldn't say. But there's a kid named Lily Bennett enrolled at an elementary school using our address, apparently." "Jason." David said the name like it was for. He knew about Jason. Didn't talk about Jason. "You have a niece?" I didn't know. We stood in the kitchen, a takeout bag sweating between us, garlic and rice filling the space that had just been our kitchen. David reached my hand. "Okay, we'll figure this out." I let hand but didn't squeeze back. I was already somewhere else, running the variables, trying to find the bug. Someone had put my name on a form. Someone had dragged me into something I had spent a life to avoid. That night, after David fell asleep, I got and went to the hall closet. On the top shelf, behind a suitcase I never used, was a cardboard box. I pulled it down, old tax returns. A lead in my first apartment, a photo, face down, that I hadn't looked at in years. I turned it over. 2 kids on a lawn, squinting into sunlight. Me, maybe 14, arms crossed. Jason, maybe 10 with a missing front tooth. My phone buzzed. Voicemail from a number I didn't recognize, left at 6:42 that evening. Before the police. Before I pressed play. Clara. It's Jason. His voice was rough, like he'd been smoking or crying or both. I know you probably don't want to, but they took Lily. CPS. They came to the school and they took her. I don't know what to do. Your address was on the forms. I'm so sorry. Call me back. The voicemail ended. I stood in the dark hallway, photo in one hand, the phone in the other, and somewhere in the house a floorboard creaked. And for the first time in 12, I did not know what to do next. I called the number back at 7:30 the next morning. I stood in the kitchen, coffee mug in hand, David still asleep in the bedroom, and listened to it ring 4 times before voicemail picked up. I didn't leave a message. I called again at 8. Same result. At 8:45, I got in my car and drove north on I-35. I didn't know where Jason was exactly, but I knew the kind of places he lived, the kind of places I had driven past for 12 years and never looked at. Budget motels, extended stay suites with weekly rates, the ones with neon signs that flickered, and parking lots full of cars that didn't run. I found him at the third one. The Royal Crest Inn sat between a tire shop and a payday lender, its sign missing the L in Royal. I pulled into the lot and parked. A man in a wife-beater was smoking on the balcony above. A child's bike lay on its side in the grass. I didn't have a room number. I called Jason again. This time it went to voicemail immediately. Dead battery, or he'd turned it off. I went to the office. The woman behind the desk was watching Maury on a small TV. I'm looking for Jason Bennett, I said. He's my brother. The woman didn't look up. Can't give out room number. He has a dog. 8 years old. CPS took her yesterday. I just need to talk to him. That got her attention. The woman studied me for a moment. My clean clothes. My nice car visible through the window. The fact that I clearly did not belong. Then picked up a phone and... Room 212. Man at the door. She said. And wait outside. 5. The morning sun was already brutal, reflecting off the apple. I was sweating through my blouse when the door of room 212. Jason stood in the name. He was 30 now, but he looked... His hair was longer than I remembered. He had a beard with grit. His hands were calloused, his nails rimmed with construction dust. He was wearing a faded Longhorns t-shirt and jeans with a hole. He stared at me like I was... A beat. The cicadas were loud. Somewhere a dog barked. You came, he said. It wasn't. You said... Yeah. He looked back. Come in. The room was what I expected. 2 queen beds, one made, one not. A television mounted to the wall, playing cartoons on low. A microwave on a stand, a fridge humming. Clothes piled on a surface. A child's back in the corner, pink, with a woman sat on the edge of the... Yeah. It was small, dark-haired, wearing a waitress uniform with a name tag that read Tanya in curling letters. Were red. She was holding a cigarette, though there was an ashtray. Just a soda can with the tin. Tanya said, looking down. The sister. Clara. Great. Took a drag. Perfect. Now the rich sister shows up. Took you long enough? Tanya, Jason said, in his voice. Let her. Tanya stood. She was shorter than me, but she had a way of occupying space. Of her. You couldn't pick up the phone for 12 years, but now there's a problem. Here you are. Hero complex much? Kept my voice even. I'm here because Jason called me. Because CPS took your daughter. I'm not anyone's hero. Then why are you here? Because my address is on your daughter's school forms. Because the police were at my house last night. Because what happened. Jason sat down on the edge of the other bed, his head in his hands. We lost the apartment, he said without looking up. 3 months ago. I got laid off from the construction gig. We couldn't make rent. I've been here since. Dress for school. I needed a stable address for enrollment. You were the only person I knew who hadn't. I didn't think. You didn't ask. I knew you'd say no. My jaw tightened. He was right. I would have said no. That was the worst part. Lily fell. Jason continued. At the playground here. Arm bruised her hip. The school nurse. And she was tired. Hungry. We feed her. He's tight and... He swallowed. Said it was neglect. That the bruising was suspicious. CPS came to the school yesterday and took her. Put her in some fog. I don't even know where. Tanya had gone quiet. She was staring at the floor, the burning down between her fingers. But if we don't get stable housing, if we don't get jobs, If we don't do everything they say, they're going to terminate rights, Jason said. Voice cracked on the last word. Going to take her forever. Stood in the middle of that motel room. The smell of mildew and something sweet. A child's shampoo, maybe, filling my... And I did not know what to say. I had spent 12 years building up where this room did not exist. These people did not exist. Where the girl with the unicorn backpack did not exist. And now it all existed, and it was in my address, and it was not going away. My phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize, Austin area. I stepped outside to take it. Clara Bennett? A woman's voice, professional, tired. This is Carla Mendez with Child Protective Services, the caseworker for Lily Bennett. My tightened on the phone. Yes. I see you're listed as an emergency contact on Lily's enrollment forms. I also see you're her paternal aunt. I need to ask you a question. Think carefully. Okay. Lily is currently in an emergency foster placement. It's not ideal. She's scared. She's acting out, and she keeps asking for her dad. We have two options. One, she stays in the system and we look for a longer-term foster home. Two, you temporary custody. You'd be her placement. You'd have legal custody while we work the case to parents. My mouth was dry. I'm about taking care of an 8-year-old. I'm not asking if you're perfect. I'm asking if you're willing. Because right now, this kid needs someone who shows up. And you're the only family the subject of the investigation. A pause. Mendez let it hang. You have 48 hours, she said. At that, we move her to a long-term foster, and it gets much harder out. Call me back. The line went dead. I stood in the hotel parking lot, the sun on my face, the sound of the highway in the distance, and behind me, through the thin wall of room 212, I could hear Tanya crying. I had 48 hours. I did not sleep that night. I lay in bed beside David, staring at the ceiling, while the 48-hour clock ticked in my head like a metronome. David had been quiet when I told him about the motel, about Jason and Tanya, about the girl with the unicorn backpack. He hadn't said you should do it, or you shouldn't. He had just held me and said, whatever you decide, I'm here. That was worse. If he'd pushed me one way or the other, I could have resisted. Instead, I was alone with the decision. At 6 a.m, I got up, made coffee, and called Carla Mendez. I want to meet her, I said. Lily, before I decide. Mendez gave me an address in Round Rock, a suburban subdivision with vinyl siding and manicured lawns. The foster home was run by a woman named Beverly, who answered the door in a floral house dress and slippers, and looked me up and down with the calm assessment of someone who had seen every kind of relative walk through that door. She's in the kitchen, Beverly said. Drawing. She draws a lot. Don't take it personal if she doesn't talk. She hasn't said much since she got here. I walked into the kitchen. The table was formica, scarred with crayon marks. A girl sat at it, small for 8, with dark hair pulled back in a lopsided ponytail and a gap between her front. She was coloring with a purple crayon, pressing so hard the paper was tearing. Lily. I sat down across from her. I didn't say anything for a minute. I just watched. The crayon moved back and forth, filling in a shape that looked like a house. Hi, I said funny. I'm Clara. I'm your dad's sister. Lily didn't look. The crayon kept. I know this is weird, Ed. I know you don't need. I'm not here to make you do anything. I just wanted to. The crayon stopped. Lily looked. Her eyes were too old for her. The kind of eyes that had seen things 8-year-olds should. She studied me the way Bev had. Calm, assessing, Are you the one with... Lily said. I blinked. What? Dad said you house. With stairs. Dog. I don't dog. Oh. Lily went back coloring. Okay. I sat there for 20 minutes. I didn't try to fill in. I watched raw. A house, sun, a stick figure that might have person. I left. Lily did say goodbye. But he did look up, and for a second, and I saw something in them that was... It was want. Quiet buried, but there. I called car. Motel, I said. Just you. He was waiting outside when I pulled up, sitting on the curb smoking. He stood when he saw me, dropped the cigarette, rounded out. In my car. The air conditioning was on. It was the only private plove. I'll take her, I said. Temporary custody, but where's my way? Jason's face crumpled. He put over his mouth. Thank you. Sarah, thank you. Don't. Not yet. This isn't a gift. It's a deal. I looked at him. You get a job. A real one, not day labor. You find an apartment, not a motel. You go to parenting classes, whatever CPS tells you to do. You take a drug test and you keep taking them. And you stay away from whatever is going on with Tanya that got dress on those forms are taken. Jason flinched. What do you whatever is going on? I mean, you look scared, Jason. Not just sad, scared. And I don't know what to find out. Because that girl is going to be in my house and I am to my door. He was quiet for a long time. I had a truck run past. Okay, I'll do it. All of it. I started the car. I'll call CPS tomorrow. I didn't tell Tanya. I didn't think I needed. Jason would. But when I pulled out of the lot, I saw Tanya standing in the way of room 212, watching me go, her arms crossed, face like stone. That evening, I told David. He held me again, he was smiling. She's good here, he said. We'll get her a room. David, I stopped him. This is temporary. It's not for her. We're not adopting her. We're just keeping her so Jason gets his life together. David looked at me. Okay, temporary. But we heard the thing neither of us said. That temporary had a way of becoming permanent when the people in Jason and Tanya. The next afternoon, a CPS worker brought Lily to the door. She had the unicorn backpack. She was wearing the same clothes she'd had on at her home. She looked, then at the house, then through the entryway. No dog, she said. No dog, I said. But we have a guest room, with a bed and a closet, whatever color you want. Lily considered. Purple. Purple it is. I took the backpack from the CPS workers and closed the door. Lily stood in the entryway looking around, taking in the floors, the quiet. She looked like someone who had walked into a museum without to touch anything. Come on, I'll show you your room. After Lily had gone to bed, I lay with her until her breathing slowed. After I'd listened to the small sounds of a sleeping in a house that had never had one, I went back to the guest room. I wanted to make sure Lily was heard, that the window was, that everything was okay. Lily was facing the wall. The unicorn backpack floor beside the bed unzipped. I knelt to zip it and something fell out. A piece of paper, folded in quarters. I unfolded it. It was a drawing. Crayon Lily had used at the foster home. But this wasn't a house or a sun. This was a room. A figure at a table, small, curled into a ball. A figure standing over the table. A woman, open, her eyes angry slits. And beside the woman, a boot. A man's boot, dark, pressed into the foot. I stared at the drawing. The room was cold. Somewhere the air conditioner clicked on. Her back up and put it in my pocket. I didn't wake Lily. David, who was on call at the hospital. I stood in the dark of that guest room, burning a hole through my jeans, and I thought, the abuse isn't just neglect. Someone has been hurting this girl, and I got her into a house where I thought she was safe. Lily had been with me for 5 days when I started noticing the things. The flinching, first. A cabinet door slammed, and Lily's whole body jerked, her hands coming up to protect her face. It was over in a second, and then she was fine, coloring at the table like nothing had happened, but I had seen it. David had seen it too. He was a pediatrician. He knew what that flinch meant. The food came next. Lily ate like someone who might not get another meal. She cleaned her plate, then asked for more, then hid crackers in her backpack when she thought no one was looking. I found them, a sleeve of saltines, half-eaten, tucked behind a unicorn pencil case, and didn't say anything. I just bought more crackers and left them on the counter where Lily could see them. The bathroom. Lily wouldn't bathe with the door closed. She left it open a crack, and she bathed in her underwear, and she kept one eye on the door the whole time. I tried to tell her she was safe, that no one was going to come in, but Lily just nodded and kept the door open anyway. I called the school. I asked to speak to Lily's teacher, a woman named Ms. Henderson, and arranged to pick Lily up 10 minutes early on Friday. The classroom was bright, covered in children's artwork. Ms. Henderson was in her 50s, with reading glasses on a chain and the tired kindness of a teacher who had seen too much. She pulled me aside by the cubbies where the children couldn't hear. I'm glad you called, Ms. Henderson said. Lily's a sweet girl, but there are things. What kind of things? She doesn't like to be touched. If I put my hand on her shoulder to guide her, she pulls away. She draws a lot, dark, and once, about a month ago, she said something to me during recess. We were talking about family and Uncle Mike hurts me when Mommy. My blood went. That's what I said. I reported it, of course. I'm a mandated reporter, but by the time CPS followed up, Lily had hemmed up. She said she didn't remember it. And the address on file was yours, and when they came out, there was no child. Ms. Henderson. Sorry. I know that a lot. I was gripping the edge of a cubby so hard my knuckles were white. Mike. Jason never. Maybe ask him. That evening, I drove to a motel. Jen wasn't there. Tanya was, sitting on the bed watching TV, a beer in her hand. She looked up. I walked in. I hadn't knocked. Jar. And something flickered her eyes. Fear, maybe. Or guilt. Where's Jason? I said. Working. Night shift at the warehouse. What do you want? I want is. The beer can crink's hand. Ooh. Mike. Lily said Uncle Mike hurts me. I want to know who he is, and I want to know what he... I stood up. She was shaking, and fear. It was anger. Offensive kind. The kind that comes when caught. That's a lie. He makes things up. It's an imagination. Don't. My low and sharp. Don't you dare. That girl flinches when a cabinet closes. She hides food in her backpack. She won't bathe with the door shut. Someone has been hurting her. I know who it is. Tanya's face crumpled. She sat back down on the bed in her hands. He's not my... He's a guy. Mike. He works at the motel. Handyman. We've been seeing each other. On and off. When Jason's working, Jason doesn't know. Jason knows something. He's not stupid. Buck was just a friend. And if he said anything, if he tried to make me stop, I told him I'd leave. I'd take Lily and go. And he was scared. So he let it happen. Let what happen? Tanya looked up. Her eyes were wet, her mascara run. Mike has a temper. He drinks. And when he drinks, he hits things. Wall, sometimes me. And Lily would be in the room and she'd see it. And once, Mike hit her arm. Hard. Left a bruise. He said she was being a brat. That she needed to learn respect. I told him not to. I did. But I didn't. She broke down. I stood in the middle of the motel room, listening to Tanya, and I felt nothing. Not pity, not anger, just a cold, clear certainty, like a line compiled on the first try. Where is Mike now? I said. I don't know. He works days. He's probably in the office. Or his room. Room 110. I didn't comfort Tanya. I didn't say it would be okay. I walked out of that room, across the parking lot, and I knocked. Mike Kowalski opened the door. He was in his 30s, broad-shouldered, with a buzz of a snake on his neck. He was wearing a grease-stained wife-beater and jeans. Me up and down slow and mild. Help you, ma'am? On it. Lily's aunt. The smile didn't falter, but something behind his eye did. Lily, Tanya's kid. What about? She told her teacher you hurt her. She drew pictures of you. CPS is building a case. Mike leaned against the door frame. He was close enough I could smell beer, sweat, and engine grease. That so? You should get a lawyer. Look, lady. Mike's voice dropped. It was low, reasonable, the kind of voice people used before they threatened you. I don't know what Tanya, but that kid's called imagination. And you? You're the sister who showed up 5 minutes ago. You don't know anything about this family. You don't know what Tanya's capable of. So why don't you go back to your nice house and your nice life? People who actually know this kid handle it. Take a step forward. Move. Because if you don't, he said, this could get messy. For you. For your fiancé. For that nice house. You I held his gaze for 3 seconds. Turned and walked away. I didn't run. I didn't look back. But my heart was hammering and my hands were shaking, already thinking about what next. I got in my car. I was about to start the engine when I saw it, Mike's car, an old Ford pickup parked in front of 10. The passenger window was down, and on the passenger seat, partially cracked, was a pink pack. I stared. The pack was unzipped. I could see a piece of paper maybe, or a phone. Something that could prove. Reach through the window. I could grab it. It would take 3 seconds, but it would be breaking and entering. It would be theft. And if Mike came out, my hand was on the door handle. The engine was off. The parking lot was empty except for me and the man in room 1 and the girl whose backpack was sitting in a truck. I had 48 hours before. Now I had something else. A line. And on one law. And on the other side. I did not reach. I started the car and drove away. I called Carla Mendez, hit the highway, and I said, I need to talk to you. And you to get a warrant. Because there's evidence in a man, and if we don't get it before he finds out we're coming, it's gone. The warrant took 3 days, 3 days in which I did not sleep. 3 days in which I watched Lily like a hawk, checking the locks twice, keeping the curtains drawn, jumping at every knock. 3 days in which Mike Kowalski sat in room 110 of the Royal Crest Inn, presumably unaware that a case was being built against him, and I sat in my townhouse waiting for the other shoe to drop. Carla Mendez got the warrant on a Thursday. Officer Marquez served it. They found the backpack in Mike's truck. I had been right about that. And inside it, they found more than I had expected. Lily's school ID, a set of children's underwear that wasn't clean, and a phone. Mike's phone, which he had apparently stuffed in the backpack by mistake, or by arrogance, or because he didn't think anyone would look. On the phone were text messages. To Tanya, about Lily. I didn't read them. Mendez wouldn't let me. But Mendez told me enough. They're not good, Mendez said. Over coffee at a diner on Burnett. He talks about her like she's a thing. Like she's in the way. Tanya defends. It's bad, Clara, but it's evidence. Real evidence. The kind that doesn't go away because a kid clams. What happens now? Now we pick up. We charge him. We open a formal investigation into Tanya for failure to protect. And we go back to court for temporary I nodded. I felt. I had wanted Mike. Wanted Tanya held accountable. But now that it was happening, I felt only the weight of a little girl's life in my... Mike was arrested on a... I saw it on the news. A 30-second clip. A man in handcuffs being led to a squad car. The Royal Crest Inn sign flickering in the back. I didn't feel triumphant. I was sick. Because that was the day Mike found out who had... It started with the phones. Unknown numbers, one after another, leaving messages. I didn't listen to them first. I deleted them, blocked the numbers, told myself... Monday, when I pulled into the parking lot of my startup, a man was leaning against her. Mike. Mike's in jail. But a friend of his maybe. A big guy in a flannel shirt with a neck tattoo that matched Snake. You Bennett? He said, walking. Answer. I went into the building, told the front desk to call security, but my hands were shaking so bad I could barely type. My boss, a woman named Priya, pulled me aside. Clara, everything okay? You've been distracted. Day's project. Your code had 3 bugs in it last week. It's not like you. I know. I'm sorry. I've had family stuff. A lot going on, Priya nodded. It was reasonable. She was all in a company. The promotion, Clara. The director role. You were the front runner. But if you can't focus right now, I can focus. Give me a week. Priya looked at me. Okay, a week. Back to my desk. I looked at my screen, at the lines of code I'd 1,000 times. Them. All I could Lily's face. Lily's drawings. Lily asking, "You the one with the house?" Called Jason that night. I need you to do something, I said. I talked to CPS. I need you to tell everything you know about Mike, everything you saw, everything you suspected. And I need you to do it on the record. Jason was quiet. If I do that, Tanya is already in trouble. She's held to protect her daughter. She's looking at criminal charges. The only thing that matters now is Lily. And if you don't stand up for her, Jason, Mike. A long silence. Then, okay, I'll tell them everything. He did. He sat with Mendez and a porter for 2 hours, and he told them about the drinking, about the nights he'd come home and Lily hiding in the bathroom, about the way Tanya had said anything. He told them he was scared. He told them he was sorry. It was not quick. It was enough. The temporary custody hearing was on a Wednesday, in a small courtroom on the 4th floor of the Travis County House. I wore a blazer, never been in a courtroom before. My hands were cold. Tanya was in a dress that was tight, her eyes red. She had a public defender. Jason was there too, in a clean shirt, clasped in his lap. When I walked in, once. The judge was a woman in her chair and reading glasses. Listened to Mendez present the case, the warrant, the phone, the texts, Jason's testimony, therapist's notes. She listened to Tanya's public defender argue that Tanya was a victim too, that she had been manipulated by Mike. She deserved another chance. I stood. I looked at the judge. I did not look at who was staring at me. Your Honor, I said, I'm not a social worker. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a software engineer. I write code for a living. I like things to be clean and logical and predictable. 3 weeks have been but. I took a breath. That girl, Lily, she flinches when a cabinet closes. She hides food because she's afraid there won't be more. She draws pictures of people being hurt because she doesn't have the words to say what happened to her. I know because I was her. Not exactly. My mother was abusive. Not the was. He was gone. She was checked out. And I know what it's like to be a kid in a house where no one is protecting you. I know what it's like to wait for someone to show up. Listen, he was crying. I showed up late, I said. 12 years late. But I'm here now, and I'm asking you to let me keep her safe. Not forever, just until her dad can get his life together. Because he's trying. I see him trying. But right now, I need someone who can give her a bed on the door, and 3 meals a day, and no one who is going to hurt her. And I can do that. I'll do that. I sat down. My hands were shaking. Vid, in the gallery, gave me a smile. The judge read the order. Temporary legal custody to me, Lily Bennett. Jason and Tanya to complete parenting classes, substance abuse evaluation, and domestic violence counseling. No contact with Mike Kowalski. Supervised visitation only, at the CPS office once a week. Next hearing in 90 days. Stood up. Shit, she said. That's matter. The judge said. Sit down. Tanya didn't sit down. She walked out. I found her in the hallway, outside the courtroom. Tanya was leaning against the wall, even though there were no smoking somewhere. She looked up when I approached. Tanya said. Her voice was raw. You think you got her, but you're not her mother. You're just the lady with the house, and I'm going to get back. You hear me? I'm going to be just another person who left her. I looked at her. I didn't argue. I didn't say Tanya was wrong, because somewhere, in the back of my mind, the same thing. You're just the lady with the house. I walked past and down the hallway. David's waiting by the elevator. He took my hand. Hey, he said. You did good. I looked at him. I wanted to believe him, but all his voice. Marble hallway. I'm going to get her back. And somewhere, in a foster home that was no longer a foster home but my guest room, a little girl was waiting to be picked up. 90 days is both forever and no time at all. For Lily, it was forever. 90 days of purple walls and a bed with a canopy and a closet full of clothes that fit. 90 days of school where the other kids didn't know her name, where she ate lunch alone for the first week, and then, slowly, started sitting with a girl named Mia, who liked unicorns too. 90 days of therapy. A woman named Dr. Rao, with a sandbox and dolls and a way of asking questions that didn't feel like questions. 90 days of not flinching when the cabinet closed. Not all the time, anyway. For me, it was no time at all. 90 days of learning to braid hair badly, of packing lunches, of reading bedtime stories in voices that made Lily laugh. 90 days of code written at 9 o'clock at night, after Lily was asleep, because the days were full of school drop-offs and therapy appointments and CPS check-ins. 90 days of watching Jason show up week after week to supervised visitation at the CPS office. Clean shirt, steady hand, bringing Lily drawings he'd made himself. Bad drawings, stick figures with enormous heads. 90 days of watching him try. Tanya tried too, in her way. She showed up to visitation sometimes. She brought Lily a stuffed animal once. A unicorn, of course. And Lily held it like it was made of glass. But Tanya was distracted. She kept checking her phone. She kept looking at the... And I knew, because Mendez told that Tanya had missed 2 of her 4 counseling sessions. The permanency hearing was set for a Tuesday in November. I stood in the bathroom that morning, staring at my reflection, and I did not recognize me. There were bags under my eyes. My hair was longer than I'd worn it in years because I hadn't had time to get it cut. I was wearing a blazer that didn't quite fit anymore because I'd lost weight from stress. I looked like a person who had been through... You look, Dave said, from the room. He was putting on... He had taken the day. You look like someone who... I look well. You look like a... I stared at his reflection. He was standing behind me, his hands on my shoulders, and he looked... I'm Mom. I know, but you're the closest thing she's got right now. Announce. An answer. I put in my earrings and picked... The courtroom was in... But it... The judge was the same. Mendez was the same, but Tanya had a lawyer. A private one, sharp-suited, with the kind of smile that didn't... I didn't know how Tanya did him. Oh. The hearing started with Mendez's report. Jason had completed parenting classes. He had a full-time job at a warehouse. He had an apartment, a small one, on the east side. He had passed the test. He had not missed a visitation. Tanya had completed 2 of 4 counseling. She had a part-time job at a diner. She was still in contact with Kowalski. Mendez records. Tanya claimed it was justice. The judge didn't. Then Tanya... Your Honor, he said. My client is a young mother of stakes. She was in a relationship. She was manipulated, but she has taken steps. She has a job. She loves her daughter, and the person who is seeking custody, Lily Bennett, she is not Jews. Dropped. Ms. Bennett home at 18, the lawyer said. She abandoned her younger brother, my client's husband, for 12 years. No contact with him. No contact with her niece. She built a life for herself, and she turned her back on her family. And now, suddenly, she's a candidate for custody? The apple doesn't fall from the tree, Your Honor. Ms. Bennett's mother was a substance abuser. Ms. Bennett herself has a history of abandonment. Is this really the person want raising this child? The room went quiet. I hear my own heartbeat. And tightened on mine. The judge looked at me. Miss, would you like to respond? I stood, my mouth was dry. I had not prepared for this. I prepared to talk about Lily, about the flinching. I had to talk about myself. Your Honor, I said, it's true. I left home at 8. I didn't look back. My mother isn't a bad person exactly. She was just gone. She's there in body but isn't present. She drank. She left us alone for days. And when I was old enough to leave, left. And I didn't back. Not for my brother. Not for him. I paused, swallowed. I'm not proud of it. I know it makes me look like the person that lawyer just described. But here's what he didn't tell you. I left because I had to. Because if I had stayed, I would have become her. I would have checked out. I would have drunk. I would have been another mother who wasn't there. And I couldn't do that. Couldn't be that person. So I left. And I built a life. And I thought that was enough. I thought if I was successful, if I was stable, if I never drank and never left and never like her, then I looked at Jake. He was staring at his hands. But I wasn't good, I said. I was just gone. In a different way. I left my brother. I missed 12 years of life. I missed my niece being born. I can't get that back. But I can show up now. I can be here. And that's all I have. That's all I can offer. Not perfection. Not a perfect past. Just me. Showing up. I sat down. I had to put them under the... Jason stood. Your Honor, can I say something? The judge nodded. Claire is right, Jason. She left. She wasn't there. And for a long time, I hated her for it. I thought she was selfish. I thought she didn't care. But I remember thing. When I was a kid, maybe 7 or 8, Mom was on a bender. She'd been for 2 days. There was no food in the house. I worry. And Clara, she was 14. She stole a box of cereal from the corner store. Fed me. And she sat with me. She said, I'm going to get here. And she did. And to follow, but I couldn't. Scared. I was too Mom. He hit his face with his sleeve. Clara saved me once. When we were kids. And I trust her with my daughter. Because I know what she's capable of. I know she shows up. Even when it's late. Even when it's hard. She shows up. He sat down. The room was quiet. The judge wrote something on her notepad. Then she looked. I'm going to take this under it, she said. I'll issue my ruling by the end of the week. Court adjourned. My legs felt like water. David put his arm around me. We walked out of the courtroom, past Nia and her lawyer, Pat sitting at the table, his head in his hand. In the way, Lily was waiting. Mendez had brought her. She was sitting on a bench, coloring, the unicorn backpack beside her. Looked up when she saw me. "Dan?" she said. I knelt down. I didn't know how to answer. I didn't know if Lily had won, or if anyone had won, or what winning even meant in a room decided by a woman who had never met her. I don't know, Bug. I said, but whatever happened, I'm here, okay? I'm not going anywhere. Lily looked at me. Eyes, the ones that seen too much, searched my face. Then she nodded. Once. Okay, and she went back to coloring. I stood up. David my hand. We went down the marble hallway, toward the elevator, toward the parking garage. A week of waiting, like forever. And I thought, I showed up. I showed up, and it might not be enough, but I showed up. That was all I had. The ruling came on Friday. I was at work when my phone buzzed. Mendez's name on the screen. I stepped into the hallway, my heart hammering, and answered. The judge ruled, Mendez said. Lily goes to Jason. Primary physical custody with a structured safety plan. You get standard visitation. Every other weekend, 1 weekday evening, and you're named standby guardian. If Jason fails any part of the plan, if he tests positive, if he misses visitation, if anything goes wrong, she comes to you. Immediately. No hearing needed. I leaned against the wall. And Tanya? Supervised visitation only. At the CPS office. 2 hours a week. No contact with Mike Kowalski. The judge put a no-contact order in place. If Tanya violates it, she loses visitation. Permanently. I closed my eyes. Okay, Claire. Mendez's voice was softer now. I know this isn't what you want. But it's the right call. Jason earned this. He showed. He did the work. And Lily needs her dad. You did good, Clara. You got her out. You kept her safe. You gave her 3 months of nothing bad happening. That's more than she did. Don't forget that. I hung up. I stood in the hallway of my startup, surrounded by whiteboards and stand-up desks and the hum of people who had no idea what had just... And I... Just tears running down my face, because I was relieved and devastated and empty and full all at the same... I had not wanted to keep Lily. I had told her, over, temporary, it's temporary, but 3 months of bedtime stories and packed lunches and a little girl's hand. 3 months of being Lily ran to when she had a... And it turned out temporary had a way of feeling like, and forever had a way of feeling like something I couldn't. I picked Lily up from school that I didn't car. I waited until we were sitting, until Lily had her unicorn and her coloring book and every bug, I said. I have some to tell you. Looked up. What? The judge decision. You're going to go live with your dad. He has an apartment now. A real one, with stairs. And you're going to He stared at me. The crowd stopped moving. I want to. I know. I stay here, with you and David. Room. My throat tightened. I know, Bug. But your dad, he's worked really hard. He's got a job and an apartment, and he's been going to all his classes. And the judge thinks he's ready. You miss him, don't you? Lily didn't answer. She was staring at her coloring book. She wasn't coloring. Others were shaking. Arm around her. Look at me. Lily looked up. Eyes were wet. You are going to see me all the time, I said. Every other weekend. One night during the... And if anything is wrong, if you're scared, if you're sad, you just need to talk. You call me. Day or night. I don't care if it's 3 a.m. I will come. I promise. Pinky promise. Lily held up a tiny pinky. I round Lily's. Pinky promise. Took a week. I helped Jason set up Lily's room. Purple walls, of course, because Jason had asked what color I'd told him. I bought Lily a new bed, a canopy, like a unicorn. I showed Jason how to braid Lily's hair belly, the way I did it. I taught him how to make the mac and cheese Lily liked, crumb topping. I wrote names of Lily's teacher, her therapist, her favorite foods, the things that scared her, things that made her laugh. Jason watched me do all of it, and said, "You're good at this." "I'm not," I said, paying attention. Same thing. On the last, I brought Lily to the apartment. It was small, 2 bedrooms on the 2nd floor, with a back parking lot. But it was stable. I put a photo on the fridge, the one I had found in the hall closet, the 2 kids on the lawn squinting into sunlight. He had framed it. "Where'd you get that?" I said. "You left it at the motel. You came that first day." "I kept it." I looked at the photo, at the girl with her arms crossed, at the boy with the missing front tooth, at 2 kids who had no idea what was. I knelt down to. This is me. Tight. Her little arms around her face in my shoulder, and I held in the smell of her shampoo. The same shampoo I'd smelled in the motel room, what felt like a lifetime ago. "I love you." "Aunt Clara," Lily said in my shoulder. I closed my eyes. "I love you too, Bug." Stood up. I looked at her. "I will." "And Jason?" "Yeah? If you need anything at all, you call me. Not just for emergencies. For the hard stuff. For the nights you don't know what to do. For the days she's sad and you don't know why. You call me. We're in this there now." "Okay," Jason nodded. His were wet. "Okay," I left. I got in my car. Did not look back. Because I looked back, I went inside. And I stayed. And that was not the deal. The deal was that Jason did this, and Lily needed her dad, and I was the aunt mom. And it was not okay. Not yet. But it would be. Tanya apologized 2 months later. It was at the office after a supervised visitation to pick Lily up in my weekend. And Tanya was, and we passed each other in the hallway. Tanya stopped. "Clara," she said. I stopped. I was braced for a fight. I had been braced for a time I saw Tanya for the last. But Tanya wasn't angry. She was defeated. The sharp edge was gone. "I'm sorry, Tanya. For all of it. For Mike. For what happened to Lily. For things I said to you. You didn't deserve me of it. And Lily's better now. I see it. She's happy. With Jason. And with you. And I know I messed up. I can't fix it. But I'm sorry." I looked at her. I wanted something big. Something forgiving. Something that would make it all okay. But I couldn't. Because it wasn't okay. Because the little girl had been hurt. And Tanya. And sorry didn't unhurt anyone. Saying that, I said. "I appreciate it. But I'm not ready. I can't." "No," Tanya said. "You don't have to. I just wanted you to know that I know." She walked away. I watched her go. And then Lily came to the visitation room. I knelt down. And Lily hugged me, and the smell of her shampoo in my nose. And everything was enough. The wedding was in a small backyard. 20 people. My coworkers, Dave's family, a few friends, and Jason and Lily. And to my surprise, Tanya had been invited by Jason and who had sober, in a dress that was appropriate, and who had sat in the back in trouble. Lily was the floor girl. She wore a purple dress, of course, and she scattered the seriousness of performing a sacred duty. She did not trip, not eat the petals. She walked down the aisle perfectly, and I cried, and everyone pretended to notice. Jason walked me down the aisle. He was nervous. He had on a suit that was slightly too big, borrowed from a worker. His hands were sweating, but he held my arm, and he went on the aisle, gave me away to David, said, I will, and I thought, this is what it means. This is what showing up looks like. Not perfection, not a clean pact, just yard, in April, trying. The reception was barbecue and beer David had made that was 90s R&B. Lily danced with everyone, with Jason, with David, with Tanya, with my coworkers. She ate 3 cupcakes. She fell asleep on a lawn chair at 9 o'clock, and Jason carried her, and I watched them go, full. It was a Tuesday in August. Here, almost to the day since the police had knocked on my door. Desk. The cursor blinked at the end of E7. Fingers hovered over the keyboard. I was maybe 20 minutes from pushing. On my monitor, taped to the bottom, was a drawing, crayon, purple, a house with a sun and a stick figure family, a tall woman, a tall man, a man, a small girl, and there was no dog. Lily had drawn one anyway. Buzzed. FaceTime. Jason's name. I am. Lily's face green. She was now. Her hair was. She had lost another tooth, the one next to the, and she was grinning with her whole face. Clara. Aunt Clara, look! She held up a drawing. It was too close to the camera, blurry, but I could see colors. Purple and pink and yellow. What is it, Bug? It's us. At the beach. We went to the beach this week. Dad took me. And I built a castle and it had a moat. Show me the sandcastle. Lily turned the camera. There was a sandcastle, lopsided seashell on top. Jason was in the background, sitting on a towel waving. Looks amazing. Best sandcastle I've ever seen. Can we come over this weekend? Dad said we could have a sleeper, and we can make mac and cheese, and you can braid my hair, I smiled. I looked at the drawing on my monitor. At the little girl with the unicorn backpack, the woman who had opened her door to 3 police officers and had no idea coming. Absolutely, I said. Bring your swimsuit. We'll set up the in the backyard. Hey! Lily turned the camera back to her face. I love you, Aunt Clara. I love you too, Bug. Now put your dad on. I need to talk to him about something. Lily handed the phone to Jason. His face filled the screen. He looked good, tanned, relaxed. The gray in his beard somehow distinguished now instead of tired. Hey, he said. Hey, thanks for bringing her to the beach. She's been talking about it for weeks. She had a good time. We both did. Jason paused. Clara? Yeah? Thank you. Not for everything. For showing up. I don't say it enough, but you don't have to. That's what family does. A beat. Jason smiled. Yeah, it is. We said goodbye. I hung up. I looked at my screen. The cursor was still blinking. Line 47. The function was clean. I started typing. Outside, the August sun was warm. Somewhere, a child was laughing. And in a house on Garden Street, a woman sat at her desk. And she was not alone. And she had never been more at peace. And everything was exactly as it should be.